What is up, Nintendo Land? Thanks for tuning into the Nintendo Open Air podcast. Tonight we start with the flood. You may not be aware of it, but your Switch is currently being flooded with new eShop games, and it doesn't look to be stopping anytime soon. This week you can expect to find no less than 18 new games available for your purchasing pleasure. So, what is this flood bringing us, guys? Anything interesting?
I don't think so.
No,
It looks
not
like
much.
a lot of garbage. I mean, FIFA is finally coming out, so that's like their big title.
True.
I saw a trailer today for a game called Butcher that's rated M for mature. It's going to be some kind of shoot 'em up game with blood, but it's all retro-y. Looks like every other 16-bit shooter to me. I think they've had a lot of the titles. I don't see a big difference between the Switch titles and like Wii U titles as far as what's coming out. Everything seems to be like pretty weak graphically. I'm sure there's some good games in there, but they're all just kind of lackluster to me.
That's kind of my first impression when I saw the list of games coming out this week. It feels like they're just basically taking the Wii U titles that they can and just shoveling them over to the Switch now.
Yeah, I get the feeling that like a lot of the indies which threw a ton of support behind like 3DS are probably going to start moving over to the Wii U because there's not much there right now for even 3DS. I don't think. I know I had talked about, I think before, Jules Walsham, who did he's got a new game called Chicken Wiggle out that's got like a level editor, and he spent a lot of time on and was really proud on. And he said the sales just weren't what he expected them to be, and he felt like Nintendo didn't really promote it like they should have. So he thinks everybody's just kind of moving out. And I've seen a lot of developers saying, "Hey, don't buy this week. We're putting it on sale."
Yeah, that seems to be the new advertising gimmick. Don't buy it now, we're going to mark it down, which is odd for newly released games, but
yeah, well, I think if it's not selling, that's the only way you can really get any kind of eyes on your product, which I think they've had to do. But like I said, I don't know what's left for the 3DS. I did, however, so I just upgraded recently last week to the 3DS, the new 3DS. So I've been looking through, and I'm like, man, there's not even a lot of new 3DS games. I was able to download Pirate Pop Plus because I had it for free since I had bought the Wii U version. so that was something. But yeah, I don't know what's, as far as like the Switch, there's not a lot I'm looking forward to. I'm still waiting for Axiom Verge because I never did pick that up for Wii U, so I would like to check that out when it finally comes out. But this week, I don't know if there's a whole ton to be excited about.
the only game that really stood out to me that was interesting was the Golf Story game, which is from I think a new developer.
Okay, yeah.
It looks pretty good.
I've seen a lot of people look interested in that.
Yeah. Nothing else really stood out to me either.
Yeah, I mean, even if you so just recently, was it last week, Max, that you picked up the Switch finally?
Yes, I finally have one.
And what do you think of that eShop?
Oh wow!
It's hard to believe they could have stepped back from the Wii U so far, huh?
Yeah, I mean, no categories or just no. It's just a big long list, and I got tired of looking at it. So
yeah, there's not much in the way of searching right now. I mean, you can kind of look at what's popular, and yeah, you can just look at a big list of everything that's out. But if you don't know what to search for, you're not going to find it. There's a ton of Neo Geo games, though.
oh boy,
For you.
What everyone won?
Yeah. I don't have any. Yeah, I still haven't picked any of those up.
Yeah, me either.
But I'm sure there's not a whole lot of people picking those up, though. Aside from maybe a couple. I think Metal Slug's one that people like. and some of those fighter games people like, but I don't think there's a ton there. I didn't even look at the list really of what was coming out this week. It's just a bunch of games I've never heard of, and then FIFA, and then like I said, Golf Story does seem to have a little bit of buzz. It's basically like a golf RPG, isn't it?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
It looks interesting. I hope it is.
Yeah. What are your impressions on the Switch, Max?
Oh, I really like it. It's much thinner than I thought it would be, and it feels really nice when I hold it and like handheld.
Yeah. I remember when I first picked it up, I remember thinking like that the Joy-Con felt kind of cheap. But it is kind of solid when you put it all together, it does seem solid. I just remember they're just so thin and it's so small. You're just like, wow, this is the whole thing, I guess.
Yeah.
And you already played through Zelda on Wii U, right?
Yeah.
So
I kind of wish I had it for the Switch now.
you still have that option.
I know. I'm not going to buy it right away.
Double dip.
Yeah. I was able to just play it just on the pad controller for the Wii U, so
yeah,
that was nice.
Oh yeah. So you had the Switch experience basically.
Yeah, I haven't played with the Joy-Cons disconnected from the screen though.
No, it's a bit wonky. It's like, have you put it up on the TV yet?
No, I haven't.
I'm surprised how many people have not. That's crazy. That's the first thing I did. I said, let's get this thing in the dock, and there it has stayed. But yeah, a lot of people are like, I haven't even really hooked it up. Like,
I think it depends if you share your TV with someone.
Yeah, well, that's true.
But
even then, if you wanted to, you could just pick it up and play it handheld and drop it back on when he's not paying attention. But
Seems me
yeah,
I
pretty much.
Right?
I would think so. She's probably.
Yeah, I think with the Switch, I think it kind of hits people one way or the other. I don't know that it quite makes the leap that Nintendo hopes it would be for, plug it in when you're at home and take it with you on the go. I think you're either a portable player, a handheld player, or you've got it plugged in all the time on the screen.
Yeah. I'm kind of looking forward to what they do for the next one. How they're going to make it better. Hopefully they'll make it better.
Yeah.
That seems to be the way it is people are very one or the other. I saw Sony had a little blurb today, or I think it was earlier this week.
I assume that you're talking about the blurb where they said that handheld gaming was not something like along the lines of it wasn't legitimate gaming or something like that.
Really? I didn't hear that.
I just saw it looking through some posts this week, and it was something I think it was from the CEO or something. It was something along those lines that handheld gaming wasn't legitimate. Wow. I assume that's what you were getting at, Mo.
The Sony had a blurb about how they didn't feel the Switch was much of a threat, and that the handheld market really isn't as big of a market as people think it is. Because they had the Vita and it didn't do as well as they had thought. And I'm just like that's kind of a weird statement. I mean, I'm still personally not super hyped on Switch. Like, I think it's a good system, but I don't feel like there's a lot there. But everybody else seems to be fooled. So a lot of people really, really like it. It's only going to get better, obviously. Like you said, we're only 6 months in.
Yeah, I'm looking forward.
I think it's got a lot of potential.
Yeah, it has a lot of potential.
So like I said, even if they just kept a steady stream of PS3 games coming to it, that's enough. There have been some disappointments, like with Doom being 30 frames per second. But they're also saying, but hey, it's a miracle that we got this thing to run anyway. It's like that's probably going to be the story with a lot of these ports coming over. It's just like, isn't it amazing that we could actually get this to run on this piece of hardware?
Yeah, that's exactly how it sounds.
So you'd said earlier that you did have a gripe about the Switch.
Well, I was gonna set it up on the table and take off the Joy-Cons and play with it like that, but I was charging it. The charger's on the bottom. You can't
Yeah.
set it on the table.
Yeah, Hori has a little stand that you can buy for an extra 12 or 13 bucks that basically lifts the screen up in a way that would allow you to plug it into the charger while you're playing at tabletop.
Shouldn't it come with that?
Yeah.
Shouldn't the charger be on the top?
Yeah, it's an odd idea. There must be some reason that they had to do it that way. Yeah, I'd much rather have the game card be on bottom and the charger be on top.
Yeah.
Like it is on the new 3DS.
Yeah, that would make more sense.
Really odd position, and I don't find it, even if it's just you're holding it with the Joy-Con on it charging, it kind of pulls on it, when you're playing Splatoon, especially.
Yeah, it's annoying.
Yep.
Well, the whole thing about it being a handheld is that you're supposed to be cord free on it, but with a 3-hour battery life, you can't really do that.
That's true.
No.
But I'll tell you, you get that on the TV and you get a Pro controller and everything's gravy. I still cannot. I mean, even if I try to play Splatoon handheld, I just cannot do it. It feels all wrong to me. Like, I feel like you guys must be twisting your bodies all over the place.
No, not really.
No.
Maybe spinning around in your chair.
It's just nice to be able to play it while my husband's watching TV. He doesn't even know I'm playing it. So.
And it's nice to be able to play like such a big title like that looks as good as it does too.
Yeah.
On a handheld, that's probably the big thing of it, is just that you can get such a high quality experience on that little thing.
Yeah, it looks really good, and then you can play online with other people and stuff.
Splatoon's the only one you've picked up so far?
That's the only one so far.
You gotta get into it. Yeah, I know. She said that you said that.
That's my official quote. Splatoon is all you need.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, that, especially on the Wii U, that took us quite a while. We got our money out of that game.
We sure did.
Yeah.
I still recommend Snipper Clips is a fun one to play if you get a chance. There's probably some other good ones out there. I really just don't know. I guess we'll have to wait until all the big lists start coming out when they say the best Switch games of 2017 and see what all makes the list.
Yeah. Hopefully more will come out the closer we get to the holidays.
Yeah, well, are you planning on picking up Skyrim?
Oh, yeah.
Is that one a definite sell?
Unfortunately, yeah. The idea of being able to play it handheld. This will be the third time I bought it, too.
How many? Third?
Third time.
Wow.
How sickening is that?
Have you completed it every time?
No. The second time I got very close to it, though. I wonder how long I played it.
Well, they say the third time is the charm.
Yeah.
Let's start all over again.
Yeah.
Is the DLC enticing to you?
It is. It really is.
Hopefully they'll have. I don't know if they've even mentioned if they're going to have all the previous DLC stuff. Have they mentioned that at all? Like, because I know they did a huge DLC previously for that game that added like almost twice as much content to it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. They mentioned the DLC, but I'm not sure which it was. What it was. Blah blah blah. What it was.
It might end up being like that Minecraft edition of 3DS, where they're just like, it's just going to be its own edition and not have any of the stuff that's on the other things. But yeah, Rocket League's coming up. Odyssey, of course. Were you a big Mario 64 fan?
I've never played Mario 64.
Me neither.
Oh man, God, come on here.
I mean, I guess I've played it. I played around with it. I never played it back in the actual Nintendo 64 days because I was too busy with all the other awesomeness of GoldenEye and Perfect Dark and F-Zero. So I just never got into it. One of my friends bought a DS specifically for Mario 64 when that came out on DS, and he played through it and was just like, oh, it's the greatest, most perfect game. And I hear such rave reviews, but I couldn't even get into Sunshine. I bought that on GameCube thinking it was going to be great. And so I think I'm just not a fan of that Mario, although I haven't gotten into the new Super Mario stuff either. So maybe I've just left Mario behind.
I think the difficulty on 64 and especially on Sunshine kind of separated it from perhaps what most people expected for a Mario title, because I found them both very challenging, especially later on.
Yeah, well, they kind of split the game, which I'm hoping that's what ends up happening with like Metroid too. Is like there's now, it's like there's the 2D fan base and then there's like the 3D fan base for Mario. So this definitely seems like it's more in the Mario 64 kind of area. Oh, by the way, did you see you're getting a big sale for Super Mario Run?
Oh yeah,
not to leave the 2D fans behind.
that's right.
I don't even know if $5 is going to be enough to entice people.
I can't say it's really enticed me. If they made it free, I would download it. But that
Yeah.
they tried that already. Oh.
Yeah. If it was free, I'd be all over it.
Yeah.
Maybe $1.99. I don't know.
Yeah.
It just wasn't my thing.
I play it for the coins for platinum points, which I'm beginning to contemplate why I do that.
Yeah, I mean, there's always wallpaper out there.
That's right.
But some of the stuff, it's what's really like been bothering me is these Prima starter guides that they keep offering on mine, and I think those are gold points actually too.
Yeah, they are.
Where it's like pay 10 gold coins and we'll give you like a thing to the first level of Metroid or something. You know, the tutorial one that you don't really need help with.
Really? Is that all it is? It's not like a full...
it's not a full guide. They call it a starter guide. It's just got like a couple levels or something. I obviously didn't get it because why bother?
Yeah.
If they were full online guides, that would actually be a nice feature.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
They did that. I think they did that with like the Animal Crossing guide, which that's a good guide to have 4 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think I think I actually bought the paper version and it came with a free digital copy of it. So I don't really need it. But yeah, I mean, the strategy guides are okay, I guess. Those rewards just aren't great.
Yeah, if it were for like, bigger games where there's more of a collectible features or, things that's, you would refer to.
Yeah. If they broke it up into 3 or 4 sections and made you buy, it'd still be better than whatever we spend them on now.
It's the same problem with magazines going out of business, is that at this point, everything's on the internet. So for like a game like that, you can go online and get a map or watch a video of somebody playing through a particularly tricky part, or if you're like, I can't find this last thing. But like Animal Crossing, that's the ultimate guide game because there's so much in there that it's nice to just flip through and look at the furniture and see like what's available and be like, oh, I didn't even know this existed. I got to find this piece now.
Yeah. Oh, that's what that's called. I can look it up now.
Yeah.
Tell people it's what I want.
Still no news on Animal Crossing though.
I figured we'd hear something about the phone app by now.
There was a fan mock-up video that I saw of people showing what Animal Crossing would look like in HD, but I think we've already said we kind of felt like we saw that on the Wii U when they did that Animal Crossing, whatever it was, Plaza.
Yeah, that Plaza thing.
Which it looked great, but...
It looked great, but
yeah.
It was disappointing.
We kind of, I want to jump back since we brought up Animal Crossing. This has kind of been rolling around in the back of my mind since we discussed it, I believe 2 episodes ago. We discussed about Nintendo's future with social aspects in gaming, and I think it was Z who was talking about playing like a MMO. But what about the social aspects? What are they going to do with Animal Crossing? Are we going to be stuck in an app? If a friend comes over and I want to chat with them, am I going to have to open an app on my phone? Because that's a
It
huge
seems like
part.
that could be, yeah. I mean, I could see them totally doing that.
Oh, I didn't think of that.
Because you're not going to have the typing mechanism when you're losing the dual screen thing. So, yeah, and that'll be another reason for them to be like, see, try this app again. We're telling you, it's great.
Oh, I didn't.
But then again, you can do it like you do with Splatoon anymore and just get somebody on Discord or Hangout, and if you really wanted to.
That's true.
Yeah.
That stuff becomes less important as technology gets better and better.
On City
You
Folk,
do it on a real phone.
for City Folk, I bought a cheap keyboard and plugged it in and used that to talk to everyone.
Yeah, well, the Switch does support people. You can hook up a wireless keyboard to it. Apparently, like you can do a Bluetooth keyboard on it and use that to type. So, I guess that would be an option if they integrated that. We haven't started seeing some of those wacky Nintendo accessories yet, like the keyboard. Maybe it'll come. I'm imagining, if you remember that GameCube keyboard, if you ever saw that, it was like it had a GameCube controller, like half the controller on the right side and half the controller on the left side, and then a big keyboard in the middle.
Yeah. I think I have seen that. Yeah.
They could just do that with Joy-Cons. Just clip them right to the side of the keyboard, and you're golden. I don't know. I haven't even thought about when Animal Crossing does finally come around. I wonder if they'll try to integrate the phone mobile app and kind of like how Splatnet did, with maybe be able to move some furniture or something from the app into the game. I have a feeling they're going to be heavier on DLC pretty soon. You know, start having you buy furniture packs and stuff.
That is a terrifying prospect. And it was, as I was actually talking with Max earlier this week about another game, and I said, well, the content be free, the DLC. And we're like, nah, they can't be.
Yeah, they've got a taste for it now.
Yep.
That's a terrifying thought.
Yeah, I mean, they could do anything like that. They could say, rare sets that you can only buy here.
All the greasy stuff. Oh, man.
Yeah. Start having store exclusives. What if they started doing like exclusives like other games do, where there's exclusive DLC depending on where you bought it? So you buy from Best Buy, you get one set. You buy it from GameStop, you get a different one.
Well, you have to organize with your friends. Everyone buy from someplace different, so you can trade.
Oh, that won't be able to be ordered in the catalog.
At least let me catalog it.
That's right. We can look at the image of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. That'd be interesting to see what they do with that. That's got to be on its way. You'd think they got to be pretty deep in development on that already.
Yeah.
So?
Or make you pay for the animals you want in your town.
Yeah, they could do that too. Or have you unlock them with amiibo cards, like you do in this one.
It would be nice if they brought amiibo card functionality into a new game.
Yeah, they had a ton of them. I just wish they would just sell them. Just sell a set of amiibo cards. Like the blind pack thing is such a turnoff for me. I was at Best Buy last week and I saw they had the Splatoon squid keychains, which I think T has collected all of, but they're $5 a piece and they're blind, like they're just squids in different colors, but they're $5 and they're blind. So you just buy them until you get the color that you want.
I haven't seen those. I need to check that.
Yeah, I mean that's just a keychain, but $5 for a keychain. What color did you get?
I got the dark blue one.
Oh, that's good.
And I made my husband choose. I'm like, you choose. I don't like it. It's your fault.
That way you can blame him.
I'll have to take someone with me. It's like, you pick out the box.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they should just tear them all open. Just go in the store and crack them all.
Yeah.
Where at?
At Best Buy.
Oh, yeah. That's where I saw mine at, too. So,
I think they're also at GameStop. I heard from another person.
Like, it seems really expensive for $5 for what it is. Like, but it would be less. It would be less of a burden if I knew what I was getting for $5.
Right.
Like, So that's like with Animal Crossing. It's like I probably bought maybe, I don't know, probably less than, I would hope less than 10 of those packs of cards. But it's like there was people that I was specifically wanting and wasn't getting. At a certain point, I was just like, I could just go on eBay and buy the specific card that I want, instead of
Yeah.
doing the blind pack.
I
I wonder
thought
if those
about
Mario
that.
sports cards will be rare someday.
They'd
If
have
you
to
remember
be.
those.
Yeah. First,
Because
you got to
I'm
find
sure.
someone that would remember what they are, and it's like, yeah, like, I got those, man.
Yeah, those have definitely sold less units than the Virtual Boy. Um, I keep seeing them, and I guess that could kind of bring us through to one of the reasons that Toys R Us is having some hard times right now, is because they stock stuff like that.
That's right. If you haven't been following the news lately, Toys R Us did announce that they will probably be filing for bankruptcy at any time, which is a little bit of our childhood dying there, at least for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Or at least protection. I think it was just bankruptcy protection as kind of a way to stop the bleeding a little bit, so they didn't have to completely go bankrupt. But that's kind of one of the things with them that I notice is they just have such a variety of items.
Hmm.
I'm sure if you want to see a good collection of amiibo, you can go to any Toys R Us, and they seem to have way more than any other store that I've ever seen.
I think that's
Uh,
something that we've all kind of mentioned when we went to Toys R Us. There's just shelves and shelves and shelves of amiibo you probably haven't seen in months or maybe even longer.
Yeah, and tons of Animal Crossing, but like I said, they've got some of the cards there. I know that's the only place I think that I've ever seen the actual Mario sports cards, whatever it was called. Boy, that game failed hard. Uh, so yeah, it is sad to see them having trouble, but at the same time, it's video games. I think they said that they had like a 1% market share now for video games.
Wow.
Wow.
Uh, so people are just going elsewhere to get their stuff. Um, Although, if you're going to buy stuff for babies or, um,
Yeah, little
some of the
kids.
other stuff, that's the place to go. But even like their board game section, if you look at that, it's like, I think ours has got like 3 aisles.
Oh,
It's like,
wow.
nobody's going to buy that. Like, I mean, unfortunately, like those are the places I like to go because I like going to a store that has everything and just looking through it. But that's
Uh,
just a lot of unsold product that they have. Like, unfortunately, it only really pays to have the popular stuff.
yeah.
So I do feel bad for them. They've been keeping some Switches in stock. I've noticed that.
Yeah, I actually come across some Switches in stock at my local Target. They actually had 7,
Wow.
which I
Wow.
was quite blown away by. And I have seen one of the Splatoon special editions, which
Oh,
did make
really?
me want to cry a little bit. Yeah, that was at
Uh,
Walmart. But
yeah.
I haven't seen the Splatoon anywhere.
Yeah. Well, it's Walmart exclusive, so that's going
Oh,
to be the only place you'll see it.
Walmart
Um,
didn't have any Switches when I was there. So,
I
but yeah,
think
they
it's the
seem to be
first
out.
one I've seen.
yeah.
So
I
I
saw
think
one at Best Buy. And a couple at Fred Meyer's.
our Best Buy doesn't even put them out. They just have a sign that says this item is in stock. See the store associate or something.
Oh,
Um, our Best Buy's got a weird thing going now. I went in there last week and I was just like, I just want to see if they have the Samus 3DS. Like, I've already got it. I just want to know, like, is that something sitting on shelves right now? And I
yeah.
couldn't find their 3DSs. And I'm like, they've got like a Nintendo aisle. So
Mhm.
it's got like all their, what's left of their Wii U, which isn't much, games, and then their Switch games and their 3DS games and their Amiibo. And then I'm like, I don't see this thing at all. So then I go through the PS4 section, and wouldn't you know it, there's their 3DSs. They've got in the PS4 section, they've got one like glass case that's locked up that has their 3DS display and then the 3DS system. So I'm like, well, that makes it handy.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
I was like, they're not even putting it, and I don't even know why they moved it. I guess Christmas is coming up, and they needed more room for toys. I don't know.
Sure.
Uh, I just thought it was kind of weird that they're doing that, but yeah, I feel I feel bad for Toys R Us. Every now and then I'll go there if they're one of the only ones that does like some of those sales where it's like buy one get one 50% off.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll do that on video games, so that's cool.
For years, I got the buy two get a game free, and I would go. Usually, it was around this time of year, and
Oh
it's
yeah,
like
they do
I
that
would
too.
wait and just go and pick up 2 or 3 games that I had been wanting to get and just hadn't.
The problem is at my local one, they even got like DS games still
I
in
wouldn't be
stock,
surprised.
like new ones. Sorry,
What games?
DS, just
Oh,
regular
yeah.
DS game. Like they've still got DS and they've still got some Wii, and they also have a weird selection of used DS and Wii games that I don't see moving very well.
Yeah, they get the worst used games at Toys R Us.
Like the games that
Yeah, it's
everybody
always
knows.
titles that you've never heard.
Yeah, or you know they're not very good either.
Yeah, so it's sad to see, but who knows? Maybe they'll have a. I mean, Christmas is really their time, and unfortunately,
Yeah.
that's probably the only time that they consistently do well. But they need to downsize some of their stock or do something else because there's just tons of stuff, and it's so great to see the variety. But you know that they're not making any money when they're carrying that much stuff. Like
Sure.
they'll have action figures from movies that came out a year ago, just sitting there. So they probably sell most of their stuff on clearance.
Well, they cost more than other places too. A lot of the stuff.
Yeah, it's hard to compete, especially with Amazon's killing everybody, I think now.
Target, Walmart.
I mean, you're hearing about this is Toys R Us, and we've heard about GameStop having issues. I think it's just. I was wondering if eventually that game-specific retailers or even gaming sections are going to be a thing of the past.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, eventually you think it's got to go digital. At some point they're just gonna have cards hanging, and that way but you can just buy it somewhere. Like I said, if it wasn't for the actual discounts that you get from going to physical places, I would buy everything digital. That's the only incentive they have to keep me right now is that I can sometimes buy stuff with a good discount. I think Best Buy's not in great shape either. I mean, they've been struggling for years, so I think any brick and mortar place seems to be having trouble.
Yeah.
It's probably why Nintendo's not hot to open up any more of those Nintendo World stores.
That's true.
I can't help thinking the Nintendo World Store is not having any problems.
That's because there's only one.
Yeah. It's still like a tourist destination, I think, if you think of it like that.
Yeah, I'd like to go sometime.
Anyway,
what else do we have on tap today? Yeah, I know.
Well, we were talking about
going
digital. Oh, sorry, what did you say?
Oh, I just said go up to the Nintendo store and get some street passes.
That's true.
It's been a while since that green light's come on.
Go play our Switches in public. Sit around, rock around.
Give us street passes for Switch.
That's right.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. They could do it.
It's true.
I don't really like that.
But they won't.
Nope.
No. I don't think they like it.
Well, are you going to take yours out in the wild?
I don't know. Maybe if I get a better case.
I don't know. I can't see myself sitting on a park bench or on a basketball court.
Out on the rooftop in the party.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I know Mo and me probably are both all over those rooftop parties.
But maybe I feel like most portable consoles end up sitting, in somebody's house being used most of the time. There's probably in some bigger cities people will commute and do stuff like that, but it's still nice to have the option though. Like that's the cool thing to me. It's like if I want to, I can. If I'm going somewhere.
Yeah, I know someone over in Europe. She rides the train to work every day, and she plays her 3DS while she's riding the train. Like,
3DS has so many good mobile experiences, like Badge Arcade. You can be like, I'm just going to do this to get it out of the way for the day. I'm still playing, by the way.
Same here. We keep it going for Eric.
Yeah, long after he's gone. But those 2 free plays a day just somehow make it all worthwhile.
Yeah, I need to play every day. I don't know.
And I think the new Nintendo, by the way, I think it does load that a little bit faster.
Does it?
I think so. It still takes a while, but yeah, I've noticed it seems to load a little bit faster because on the other one it just seemed like it took forever.
It takes me 5 minutes to load that up.
I usually start it loading and then like go do something else and like, oh, okay, it's loaded now.
Yep.
And I don't know if I mentioned last week because I know it was kind of going on during the podcast, but I did the all digital transfer, wireless transfer from my old system to the new system. And it took 9.5 hours.
Wow.
Just taking the power plug out of one and putting it into the other and then taking it back out and putting it in so that I could keep them both on life support long enough to make it happen.
Oh, I hadn't even thought about that. Yeah, if you don't have that second charger, wow.
I had a second one. I was just too lazy to plug it in. So because this is my third 3DS now. Because I had the original blue one and then I upgraded to a black one and then now I've upgraded to the Samus one. So boy, it's ugly.
I saw the Samus edition at Target. They had 2 of them.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be a super high in demand one. But I say if you're smart, you should just buy up all the Switches you can before Christmas. Because that's going to have the resale value. Anyway, so we were saying digital something or other?
Yeah, that's right. We got a bit distracted there, but going back to the topic.
Ooh, something shiny.
That's right. Talking about going digital, and recently it's been coming out with some file sizes for upcoming games, and it seems like the file sizes are just getting more and more huge. Like, for example, the couple I wrote down was Dragon Quest X will be 9.4 gigabytes with just basically the game, and then to actually play the game, you'll need another 24 gigabytes of space. It's quickly becoming a situation where you're going to have multiple SD cards.
Yeah, a card for each game or something.
Yeah.
And who wants to carry that around?
Yeah.
Or
well, you've noticed like
what? Yeah.
Max had bought some of those game cards, which I actually have the same type of game cards that are basically like plastic containers to hold your games, and then they come with little ones for your micro SD.
Right.
And yeah, at first you're just like, who's going to carry around a bunch of extra micro SDs? But it might be a thing. And I think at this point, the Switch does not yet support an external hard drive. I think they said that was something that would happen in the future, but that's only going to be for, when you're docked.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think with better technology comes these bigger games. And bigger games are going to take up more space if they're going to have the good graphics. I know Doom was another one that they said you'll be able to play kind of like a core experience, but then you'll have to download a huge chunk to be able to, was it multiplayer, I think? That you'd have to download a huge chunk to do that. And then I know people balked at the sweet-looking NBA game that just came out.
NBA2K.
Yeah, because it's got a pretty big file size, and from what I can see online, I don't know. You might want to just save your money on that one.
Yeah, if you haven't seen any videos of the game actually running, be sure and check that out. I'll try to put something up on our Twitter account. But
yeah, there's some pretty horrific looking video of that. Now the game itself, I think the actual game when it's playing seems okay. A lot of the stuff I noticed or I saw was more like cutscene type stuff and commentating stuff.
Yeah, there were some issues. Even as far as I understand, there's 2 options as far as playing. Is you can take a lower resolution but higher frame rate or something like that.
Yeah, some games are starting to offer that where it's going to become a thing where you can toggle What were we talking? Was it Fire Emblem that said they were going to do something like that, where you could choose to have like 720 locked at 30 or 720 at 60 frames per second, or you could do like the 1080p at 30, I think. So that might become a thing with Switch too, where you'll be able to choose your frame rates.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see a setting actually appear on the Switch at some point where they'll give it a name or something. You'll be able to permanently set that.
Or per game, I mean,
Right.
I don't know how horrible it is to play something in 30 frames. I mean, we're so technologically obsessed these days, where everybody wants everything to be 1080p or 4K and 60 frames. But I'm sure the systems before. I don't know I guess I don't know. Didn't even the Wii U though run 60 frames all the time? Like I think
Sure.
most of that stuff was locked.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that Nintendo always prides themselves on is getting a good locked frame rate like that. Like they're good obviously at stretching their hardware too. I've heard Mario Odyssey that's coming up has been first of all, it's got a pretty decent file size from what I understand. Like it's relatively small file size, and it's locked at 60. But yeah, you're gonna have to get a card for everything until they come out with the 400 or 4 terabyte card. Is that the one that was coming out?
I think it was just
something crazy like that.
I think the newest one was
400
gigabyte. Yeah, there needs to be a jump there, but that really adds. If you're going to have to buy a card for every game you buy, it's going to add up pretty quickly. I mean, what the smallest cards are around $20 if you can catch it on sale.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like a 32 gig will get you probably about $20 for 32 gig. So yeah, I mean, if you do that, just add that to the price of your game.
They're already $60.
I know.
Yep.
Some of them are more. Like that NBA game. They are like masters of DLC, where you buy that game for 60, and then they'll have like custom haircuts that you can buy for your players. You can buy like a certain slam dunk for a player to use for like $5 or whatever it is. They nickel and dime the DLCs more than the price of the game.
That's almost like microtransaction type deals.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. Yeah, it's just little microtransactions, and but on the Switch, it's even worse because it's such a bad looking experience.
And what I was getting at earlier about choosing between like the frame rate, it's like you have one set of problems if you're at this frame rate, and then if you switch to the other one, I think like the audio dropped out, things like that.
Yeah. And everything seems to be better docked than it is handheld. Or sometimes I guess that's reversed, because I remember people were saying that Zelda looked a lot better in handheld, but I guess that's because it's the lower resolution.
And you're looking at it in a smaller space. A lot of games tend to look better on a smaller screen.
That's true.
Yeah, you don't notice the flaws when it's on a smaller screen as much as you do blowing it up. I think some of these 3DS games would look completely horrible if they ever, blew them up. But I guess we'll see, because I fully expect some 3DS games to start making their way to Switch, without the second screen functionality, because you could do it with so many. Even the new Metroid game, that could be a Switch game if they had really wanted it to be.
I think
there's not a whole lot going on.
I think it would have been a good fit for Switch, just from looking at it.
Yeah, it's a really good looking game. I will say the 3D is some of the best looking 3D that I've seen on the system. The graphics are pretty good. It's got a nice kind of difficulty that you don't see very often anymore from Nintendo games. Overall, I feel like, as big of a Metroid fan as I am, like I don't feel like it's easily in the top 5 best Metroid games, but that's not saying a whole lot, because there's been, there's only been so many. There's been less than 10, and a couple of them are real stinkers. Uh,
Federation
so,
Force, yeah.
yeah, God, I don't even know if I want to count that but I guess you'll have to. I saw some review the other day where they were saying it's been 1 year since we've had a Metroid game, or they said something like that, like we haven't had a Metroid game in a year. I'm like, yeah, I don't count that either. But Other M, didn't do so hot, and the first Metroid game is very, very dated now. If you ever try to go back, and the second one, which this one's remaking, is obviously a Game Boy game, is very limited and hard to play now for me.
Yeah.
But I really like the advanced ones, and I remember liking Prime 1, but I never got into the other ones. We'll see I'm interested to see what they do with Prime 4. Something tells me it's going to be motion control hell.
It's going to have
Which
something.
Z will be okay with.
Yeah. Yeah, he'll be living on it. Come on, man, you got to play it like
This is the only way to play. Yeah, they've kind of chilled out a little bit. Like, I feel like they haven't made a big deal out of the motion control. They've mentioned a little bit here and there, like Odyssey had mentioned you can throw the hat with motion control, which I don't know if anyone wants. I still haven't heard much about ARMS. I think that one's just kind of going away. They're still releasing content for it, but I don't know anyone that's actually playing it.
I haven't heard anything for a while.
I don't even know if anyone in our group has it.
I think Z does.
Oh, I guess Z does. That's right. He buys it. Oh, it's motion control.
He buys it to take to family get-togethers.
To parties, yeah.
Well, if you want to be different, you got the right game there.
Yeah, I still don't think it's a bad game. It's just, it's just boring. And it came out, if they wanted it to do well, they shouldn't have had Splatoon come out right after it.
Yeah.
Because Splatoon's going to kill anything on the system. I would have been interested to see what happened if Odyssey and Splatoon 2 had come out at the same time. They could have split the Switch user base right down the middle, I bet.
Yeah.
I don't know. What are you thinking of Splatoon 2? Are you enjoying it?
I am.
Is it?
Salmon runs are really fun too.
Yeah, it's nice that they did switch it up and give you some other stuff. Although I've been having horrible luck getting random teams. I had somebody the other day that just squid bagged the whole time in Salmon Run, and then when I went out to block him, I saw that he had 300 hours in Splatoon.
So he's just
why would he? Yeah, I'm like, it can't be worth it for you to load it up just to do that. But whatever.
I've had some situations like that, and the players are, in the upper, 30s or 40s, and it's like, how can you get that high? Be playing like this.
I think maybe once, I could do that. Like, I feel like I've maxed out everything to the point that I want to now. So I guess if I wanted to just mess around all the time, I could. But sadly, what I'm doing is not even loading it up every day anymore. Like my Switch is becoming like yours was before Splatoon. Or it just kind of sits there and collects dust, and I'm waiting for the next big thing. But I don't know that there's a next big thing on the horizon for me right now, because I'm planning on, I'll probably eat my words because I do this every time, but I'm planning on skipping Odyssey.
Wow, that's a pretty bold statement for a Switch owner right there.
I know. It's like you said, it's not for me, the 64 style I don't really get into, and I don't know, but that's going to carry them through the rest of this year. Maybe I'll pick up Doom. Who knows? See what a horrible 30 frames per second looks like on Switch.
Have you played that before on another console? Or?
No, I played the original Doom on, the old Doom back in the 90s that was on PC, and then I bought a Sega Genesis really late in its life, and it was right about the time that the 32X was coming out. So that Christmas, I got the 32X, and Doom was one of the games that I bought for it. So I've got a 32X and like 3 games for that, and one of which is Doom. So I've always liked this series. It's been a long time since I've played a first-person shooter, so I don't know if I'll really get into it or not. but maybe. It's going to depend on the price. That's one of the ones I looked up when they announced it, just to see, like, what does this game sell for? And I think it's about $20 on all the systems now. That's the nice thing that the other systems give you that Nintendo doesn't, is like, if a game comes out on PlayStation 4, like 6 months later, it's going to be $20.
That's true. It seems like
where
with,
Nintendo seems to retain their pricing a little bit longer,
I mean, you can
or
still
forever.
find full price retail games for Wii or even DS probably, if you really wanted to look.
Yeah. Well, with Wii U especially, because everything is first party, and Nintendo doesn't drop the prices. But yeah, there's not a whole lot of stuff that's still in print. The Wii U is going to be a hard one for people to collect for. Um, I don't think most of those games probably stayed in print very long, especially the ones by third-party manufacturers, because they were just like, we're not making any money off of this. Let's throw it in the eShop and quit making the discs.
That's a good point.
So Nintendo's got some. We'll see. I feel like the resale value for the Wii U stuff's never going to be huge, but maybe in 20 years people will look back on it like they look at the Dreamcast now and say, "Oh, it's such a great overlooked system." Like, maybe not. I don't know. I'm still happy with it. I will say the Wii U is a fantastic system.
Yeah, I loved it.
Okay. Where's your Wii U at now? In a closet?
No, it's over there hooked up to the TV.
All right. Well, some people like
Mine
Eric
too.
move on quick.
Yeah.
So
Better soak in those last weeks of Miiverse.
well, that's right. It's coming up pretty quick.
It is. I can't wait. I just want to watch the end. Like, it's going to be the best. It's going to be the worst of Miiverse that last week, and I just can't wait to watch it all implode.
I hope there's somebody on Twitter or somewhere that's going to be cataloging, the worst Miiverse posts going out. It would be nice.
Yeah.
We know there's going to be some quality. There's going to be some real winners coming that last week when everyone's just like, I don't care. What'll be interesting to see, though, is if Nintendo blocks people and bricks their systems for horrible offensive posts. Because they can. If you violate me, there was people who have had their systems bricked over Miiverse. Back in the early days of making offensive posts, they'd get banned, and then they'd delete their Nintendo ID and start another one, and then do some more offensive posts, and eventually Nintendo would just brick the system. So I would love it if Nintendo just was not going to moderate that last week. If they're just going to pull the plug, let it go.
I would say, that's the logical step. It's just, let whatever happens, happens. But then we're talking about Nintendo here.
That's true.
Could be record amount of bans coming in there.
Do we have time to get a petition going? Make Miiverse free for the last week. Let it all hang out.
Start that on the Splatoon Plaza. Make Miiverse free.
Yeah. No admins. Well, just no admins, and then the dates of the last week. See if you can get that to spread. I haven't even loaded up long enough to know what the kids are talking about these days in Splatoon. That's how out of touch I am.
Yeah, it's kind of between things right now.
Are you still leveling?
I am, yeah. I haven't been playing as much over the last week. Well, I've been playing Steam World Dig 2, and then
that's true.
And I've been just kind of otherwise distracted with life. So, but I'm
Steam World been everything you wanted it to be.
I don't know that I love it to quite the level as some people, even some other people that are regularly on our podcast. But it's a solid game. It was fun. I finished it at 9 hours and 9 minutes. So it was kind of.
You already finished it.
Yeah, I've been finished for a while. I haven't been saying anything because I know there's others that are still actively playing.
Yeah, I know T picked it up and she was in love with it.
Yeah, I believe her words were Game of the Year. So.
Yeah. You're not feeling Game of the Year on it yet?
I don't know. It's not. It hasn't surpassed Splatoon 2 or probably Breath of the Wild, but it's still good. It's a great game, and if you're looking for something to pick up and play, I highly recommend it. It's better
Breath
than
of
the
the Wild's
others.
an easy one to forget about.
Yeah,
It's so far in the past now, but yeah, I guess when Game of the Year comes up,
that's a good
people are
point.
going to start talking. Still no DLC announcement, so I guess they got 2 months.
They're waiting for that Game of the Year push, I guess.
I know. Well, I noticed in that direct, like when they started talking about the DLC costumes and stuff, or the whatever, they're like, it's going to do something. I think they were talking about the amiibo. Like these costumes will do things in the game. More information on that later. Which sounds just like a certain person that I think you were going to talk about tonight.
That's right. We're going to talk about our good buddy Reggie. Nintendo is a professional. We're working on it. We hear you.
More information to come.
More information to come. That's right.
Yeah.
So his latest interview, which I believe was, I don't remember what our source was on that exactly, but he was talking about the Switch launch and dramatically over-delivering it. Dramatically over-delivered is the official quote. He says that they promised 2 million, and by golly, they've done it. They've surpassed it with 2.8 million, and they have dramatically over-delivered.
Yeah, they are really good at in-zone dancing. Yeah, I was kind of surprised because they didn't talk about what their sales are at now, because I'm pretty sure that we knew that they were over 8 already in the United States, I think, or maybe that's worldwide. So I don't know if they've got numbers on that, but yeah, it's always surprising when Nintendo says that, when Reggie specifically says that they've dramatically over delivered. You can tell that to all the people that didn't buy a Switch in April or June. I see some of them now, but there were months and months where I feel like they lost out, and he had mentioned that too. That he said we see what people put on Reddit, and people saying, well, if you had made more, you would have sold more. And to that I say, we made more. It's like, yeah, I guess so. I mean, I still feel it's rushed. They rushed the system. They didn't have time to get all their crap together before they put it out.
Yeah, I agree.
There's a lot of people that want it, can't find it, especially in Japan. I mean, if you've followed us on Twitter, you'll see I posted some pictures of those huge lines that form over there, and people willing to do just about anything to get a chance at buying one.
Yeah, I was looking through one of the forums that I kind of dig around, and people were saying, why do you think there's no Switches in Japan? And it's all Nintendo fanboys, so of course it's all very positive. And everybody is saying, well, obviously, because the Switch is very popular, and it's more popular in Japan than anywhere else, so they can't keep them on the shelf because everybody wants a Switch. And my thinking is probably they're actually sending all those units, to the United States and bigger markets because they want to get a bigger base going here before they really worry too much about Japan. Like, I think they want to make the Japan audience happy, but I think it's going to be a bigger deal if it does well here than if it does well in Japan.
And perhaps the Japanese fans are a little more patient than, or more long-term than American. Yeah, than like
yeah, well, and that's the other thing. Yeah, like it seems like Nintendo's always, that's one thing they've always done is take care of their home country, and they get, how many times you've been like, oh, they get all this cool crap that we don't get here. But I think it's for the Switch, they know it's important that they need to get the user base as big as they can, as quick as they can, so that they can get as much support as they can. And if they were just sending all these units keeping all the units in Japan, it's not going to happen. I think North America is their biggest market, and then Europe probably is behind that, and then maybe Japan. That's why I don't think it's like the biggest deal in the world when they say like the Nintendo Switch has outsold the PlayStation 4. When they toot their horn, it's like there's so fewer people over there that even if they did do whatever it was, like 4 times the sales of what the PS4 had in the same amount of time, I don't think it's as big of a deal. But yeah, it's sad that they can't get some units. I really hope Christmas is super stocked. I fully expected that this was going to be like a soft launch in March, and they'd kind of trickle a few systems to us, but they weren't really launching it in March. That they were just building up for a big holiday. But with Reggie's last statement last week about, well, we may not have enough units for holiday demand.
I think they will. I think they're really going to blow it if they don't. If there's not a Switch in every hand that wants one, I think they're really missing an opportunity.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah,
because I think
like
after
they did
the
with the NES Classic.
Yeah, I think if they mess up this holiday, that by the time next year rolls around, the buzz is going to have greatly died down.
I'm sure it already has. I mean, in March, there was so much buzz around this thing. And that's what was frustrating for me as like a Nintendo fan, is that there were so many people, that even people who don't buy Nintendo consoles and, don't normally have them or don't normally want one, they saw the Switch and they were like, man, I want one of those. And then after a couple months of not being able to get one, they were just like, I don't really care anymore.
Yep.
It's like you would have had a unit sold there. You would have had software sold there. But they just didn't get it out in time. So I don't know. Reggie's dramatically something, but I don't know about overproducing. Like I said, I feel like he's in this sad position where he just has to kind of explain and put a good spin on stuff, and that's what he does. But it's weird that he did phrase it the way he did. It's like he's grandstanding about nothing. But there was another good little quote in that same article where he was talking about how Nintendo goes about announcing the things that they do, and said, we don't like to announce something until it's close to launch. He's like, it doesn't make sense for us to announce something 4 or 5 years in advance. and I was like, hey, what about Zelda?
Or Smash?
Yeah, or Smash.
Or Animal Crossing?
Or probably Metroid Prime 4.
We just have a title at this point.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if they can do that. Maybe they will, like maybe next E3. That's the thing, is now that they've put that out there, people are going to just badger them until we get more. Like, you can't just say Metroid Prime 4 and give us like a animation and have that be that. So now that's going to be one of those things. People did that with Zelda too. I mean, there was a long time from Zelda getting announced to it coming out, and that seemed like there were large droughts where there was just no news. But I guess there was a lot going on behind the scenes that time.
I mean, how long between that first opening kind of cinematic we got of Link on horseback shooting the Guardian, how long before we actually got anything? People was like, that isn't Link, that's a female character, or, even.
Yeah. Oh, is it Linkle?
It could have been Linkle.
And where's our Linkle DLC, for Christ's sake? I thought
That's
that was
something you'll have to ask
sure
Reggie Dirk. Yeah.
Yeah, if I ever get my hands on that guy, that's going to be the first one. Where's Linkle? A Linkle to the past. I want to see it.
Save Linkle. That's your hashtag.
Yeah, they could do it. I mean, at this point, Linkle is like the Waluigi of the series.
That's right. Waluigi is finally happy there's somebody less known than him.
Was Linkle just in? Was that the Triforce? No, it wasn't Triforce Heroes.
It was.
Was that the Warriors?
Yeah. I think
Linkle hasn't gotten much love, man.
I'm not sure I could pick Linkle out of a lineup.
Well, it's the girl Link that's not Zelda.
That's right.
Exactly.
And I'm kind of surprised we haven't heard of any Star Fox stuff either. You'd think they'd want to. You think they'll try to port that one over? Those two games were, side by side. I remember when they did that Breath of the Wild and Star Fox Zero were both coming out, and they had the little thing between Anuma and Miyamoto, like ribbing each other about which game would come out. And then Seems like that game died so horribly. I wonder if they'll try to bring that back on Switch.
Oh, I hope not. Could you imagine how complicated that would be to play if they forced you to use Joy-Con? And the Switch doesn't have enough screens to play it, I don't think.
Speaking of complicated control schemes, I did see that I think this update's probably already out, but ARMS did add the option to map your controls, I think.
Yeah, long after anyone cares.
Yeah, well, that's kind of Nintendo's thing, you know. They like to those Breath of the Wild news announcements that keep coming out.
Yes, perfect timing.
Like I saw another one the other day. I don't even remember what it was. Maybe some sort of crab. Like they give you like a recipe for a crab dish, and then they're like, load up your game, and you can get this crab and whatever the ingredients are to make this dish. I don't know. I don't know what they're trying to do. There's so many confusing things, like even business decisions that confuse me, but stuff like that really confuses me. Like, do they just want you to not forget about Breath of the Wild? Or do they want you to be like, I wasn't going to buy Breath of the Wild, but now that I see they're giving away free crabs in the game, maybe I'll go out and buy it. Or they're giving away 2 free apples.
Yeah. If it was rare items or something, you'd be like, yeah, I can't really complain because the items are cool. But it's like, no, you basically trip over these.
Yeah, I mean, you know, give me bomb arrows even. Like,
Yeah.
Give me something. Give me rupees. Give me a sweet Switch shirt that I don't think anybody ever wore, other than to take a picture real quick.
I started to say I've seen the obligatory picture. I'm wearing my Switch shirt.
I think that's the only reason to have it. I'm pretty sure. If I remember, it's got like a 0 stat, and I don't think you can pump it up. Somebody will probably do the whole game in that. I bet if you go on YouTube, somebody does like a Switch shirt run.
Probably.
If not, we can get one going.
I've seen people like beat the game with a broom or something like that. It's like
so I'm still struggling to just spend enough time with this Metroid game to get through, and I know I'm over 10 hours, and I am doing a lot of exploring. Although the deeper I get into the game, the less I'm exploring because I'm just like, just get it over with. And I was looking on YouTube, and I see this Samus Returns, and it was like less than 2.5 hours. Like somebody like 100%ed it, or maybe they just completed it in less than 2.5 hours. And I'm like, I'm sitting here at 10 hours trying to work through it, and people are already speedrunning this thing.
Wow.
Kids on the internet are so good. But oh well, they're not having as much fun as I am.
That's right. You're getting the quality experience.
Yeah. So yeah, good old Reggie. We'll be seeing more of him pretty soon, I bet.
Yep.
He's got a big Christmas to sell us. There hasn't been a lot of promotion. You know, I haven't seen a lot of ads for stuff. I still am kind of surprised I haven't seen any Odyssey stuff, you know, outside of people like us who know about it already and are looking for stuff. You'd think that they'd be kind of, I don't know how they're going to do advertising this Christmas, because I feel like they almost don't want to advertise it.
Yeah.
Because they don't want the story to be that you can't get your hands on it. But at the same point, this is the same company that put out ads for the NES Classic after it had completely sold out.
That's true.
And the Super NES Classic, man, that's not out yet, right? I'm not even.
I think I saw it.
Is that this coming week?
Some people got their orders early.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't remember what the actual official release date, if that's this week or next week, but I'm just gonna play my regular old Super NES without a rewind feature.
But you won't be playing Star Fox 2.
I have a feeling most of the people that buy that won't be playing that very much either.
Yep.
But oh well. It can't be that great, but I bet you we'll get it on Virtual Console.
I hope so. I'm a Star Fox fan, so I would love to play it.
Yeah, I'm always pulling for Star Fox, but that series is now in kind of a tricky spot. just like Metroid's been in tricky spots before. Like it gets to a point where you can only have so many games that are just kind of mediocre. Like I almost feel like, have they really had a great Star Fox since 64?
A lot of people like the Dinosaur Planet.
Is that like Adventures or
Star
whatever?
Fox Adventures, yeah.
I think I played one of those on GameCube.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
It was pretty good. And then the Star Fox Assault, it wasn't bad. I don't think it was very widely received, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I've always loved Star Fox, and I like the whole universe of it, and I think the ships are cool, but I never remember loving it as much as I've loved the 64 version.
Yeah, same.
That's another game that didn't really get, I mean, other than the reboot of 64 or whatever that's on 3DS, that would have been another game that would have been fine to have on 3DS had they not wasted it all on Wii U.
It's true.
Did you pick that up, by the way, on Wii U?
I do. I haven't.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did you complete it?
I don't think so. I've done my best to forget it. I still see the box every now and then, and it's just like,
It's a sore spot. I remember downloading the demo and being like, everything I've heard is true.
Yeah, it's even difficult to explain. It's that bad.
Yeah. It's like, well, I remember at the time, I think Miyamoto or somebody was quoted like, well, if you just spend like 8 hours in game, the controls will be like second nature. And then from what I understand, it doesn't take 8 hours to get through the game. But that's a very Nintendo-like solution. Who knows? I'm pretty sure they could have just done it with like a standard Nintendo 64 control scheme and it would have been fine.
If they had updated the controls on it, like they've done with ARMS, where you could just have standard controls, I'd go back and play it, and I'd probably love it. But
yeah, well, even Pikmin 3, like it had been out for a little while when they decided to add the touchscreen controls, and that's what actually hooked me on the game, because even though everybody loves the Wiimote style for Pikmin, like I'm a big fan of using the touchscreen that was on Wii U to tap. Now I don't know how I feel about the series moving forward. But I guess you'll still probably have that option on Switch, maybe, to play it handheld like that and just tap on the screen. I'm pretty sure I'm never completing the 3DS version, by the way. I don't know if I can ever go back. I'm glad to have supported it and bought it and everything and put some time into it, but man, that is a boring game. Oh well, one of these days I'll give you guys a Metroid review if I can just force myself to get through it. It's so long. It's like it's one of those enjoyable experiences. It's just so long. I did look up. Apparently, this Metroid game has the largest map of any Metroid game.
that's interesting.
So maybe that's why it feels so long to me. So it's the largest map plus backtracking. Anyway, did we have anything else this week? Seems like it's been a slow week.
It has been a slow week. We did have one little interesting story coming up. Everybody, is so hyped up on Atari right now. They've decided to go ahead and make their own console.
Oh, yeah.
So
I know we've talked about that before as well.
About the
when it first
Ataribox?
got announced. Yeah, when it first got announced, and then I think I mentioned some pods back, like, hey, has anybody heard anything about this thing since they announced it? And it's been all quiet. And then today we got a little blurb about it.
That's right. It will be crowdfunded, so if you're just in love with Atari, go throw some money at them.
Yeah, it's so from what I understand, it's, I don't know what it is. It seems like it's trying to be kind of all things to all people. It's not a portable for sure.
No.
It's got the Atari name on it. I know they previously showed us that you're going to have an option to get it in wood grain. Aside from that, it seems like it's already a pretty crowded marketplace to try to get another console into. It seems to have some fairly modern day specs to it. I know they had mentioned Linux, which makes me think like the homebrew and people who like to, do programming and make their own stuff will probably have fun with it, but I can't see it being successful. There's been so many companies that have tried, and the Steambox and stuff like that. I just can't see it really being a success. I wish them all the luck, but I think even just with Xbox and PlayStation and Nintendo is too many.
Yeah.
And I really don't feel like Atari is a major player, especially when there's no Atari left in Atari. It's just the name that somebody's bought and sold and bought and sold.
I thought what was really, really interesting on the article about it, it says it's a full PC experience for the TV, and it doesn't mention anything about gaming whatsoever. It says video streaming, social media, web browser, and music.
So it's a Wii U.
Yeah.
It's a Wii U without the games.
Yeah. Well, they'll have games, like you said. Maybe they'll. I mean, they're gonna have to try to play on the nostalgia bone. So I think they are gonna have to have some stupid, like I had jokingly said, Space Invaders HD. They're gonna have to have something. I know you were kind of chuckling that they had mentioned in their promotional material an old classic game.
The household name of Pong. It's like, yeah. Everybody's talking about Pong these days.
That is a console seller right there.
Right.
And I'm sure it'll be built in. Or I would hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, you never know, man. Maybe online multiplayer Pong will take off. Don't give up the dream.
Multiplayer Space Invaders.
Yeah, that's probably the version that, I mean, none of those, they haven't tried those. Nintendo's, doing their virtual console where they said they're going to bring some of these 8-bit games into multiplayer. So, maybe that'll breathe new life into them.
By the way, the first Nintendo Arcade Archives game comes out tomorrow. It's already out in Europe, I think. So
sweet Mario Brothers.
That's right.
Did they get the price locked down on that? I'll check that out.
I'm not sure on that.
I was guessing like 8, which seemed too expensive to me.
Yeah, $8.99 seemed like probably what it would be, but I don't know. I haven't seen an official number.
I have a feeling that they're going to be disappointed with the sales for that one. But you never know.
Yeah.
It's like, you'd think I'm sure that's been at some point available in some form on either Wii or Wii U or maybe even 3DS. And maybe they should have looked at the numbers for those games before they decided to launch a new line with it. But I'll buy Punch-Out when that comes out. I'm on board.
I have to say that does look like the most interesting title.
I'm sure it's not even that great. It's just that I'm a fan of Punch-Out, and it's one of those arcade games that we've never actually had the arcade version of before. But and I'm still surprised that they have not mentioned Donkey Kong. But maybe that's wrapped up. We covered that last week.
That's right, in depth. So if you haven't heard, go back and listen to episode 20. Check it out.
Plenty of talk on Donkey Kong Arcade. Yeah, it's a big week, I guess, for Nintendo. I don't know. They should have just released these all as a collection.
Yeah, they really should have.
I mean, at this point, I don't know how many times they can keep reselling us stuff, but I'm guaranteeing we'll find out.
Oh yeah.
I have a feeling in 20 years, whatever system, if Nintendo's still around, we'll still be waiting to hear details on the virtual console and when they're going to resell us Super Mario Brothers for the 16th time.
Dr. Mario,
yeah, and I can't wait to take you guys on head-to-head in balloon fight.
well, see, something like that could be fun if all your friends had it and you could go online and play with them.
Man, that's the problem, is they're going to have 2 people that know each other that both bought it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Aside from Punch-Out, is anyone else here planning on buying any of these wonderful titles?
Probably not.
I
Yeah,
don't think so. I mean, I've never played I've still never played Ice Climbers. I've never played Clue Clue Land.
Now, Clue Clue
So
Land is an exception. It's a fairly good game.
I know it's got its fans, and I know some people like even Ice. Oh, and then Urban Champions coming too, which I know Z's a big fan of. I still wish they would just go back and do some more of these 3Ds, man. The 3D classics that they did, that they started and never finished. I don't know why they never did that. You know, when they did like Kid Icarus and Kirby for 3DS, they should have just went back and done a handful more, because those were cool, and I would have loved to have seen those a lot more than I care about these arcade games coming on Switch. But it's about all. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, we'll have to see how things go. Maybe we'll get some news on the sales on that, or see some reviews.
Yeah, and I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens with it. If you guys think that these arcade classics are going to be the biggest thing since sliced bread, let us know on the old tweeter.
That's right. If you're loving this, let us know. We're always listening.
Yeah. And with that,
So,
I think it's high time we wrap it up.
Yep.
Oh, unless you got.
We have one closing topic. In case you have not heard, you can get 50 platinum points from certain select Post cereals. So if you're listening to this in the morning, go eat some cereal.
Yeah.
Get some platinum points.
Go get them before they're all sold out, because people are going to be scrambling, I'm sure. That's a free wallpaper to you and me.
That's right.
50 platinum points.
I don't know how
Get
we'll
them while they're hot. I do. Spend them before they expire.
That's right.
On wallpaper.
Yeah.
On wallpaper.
Yeah. Or just, download it and give it to your friends.
That's right. Or let them quietly expire at the end of the month. So, well, we should wrap up here. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in this week. And of course, you can always check us out on Twitter, Stitcher, and iTunes. And of course, here on YouTube. So we always love hearing from our fans, so hit us up wherever. So have a good night, and we'll see you next week.
Good night, everyone.